will foreign investors, Western investors, will be willing to go into Saudi Arabia and put the sort of capital in that the Crown Prince wants if there isn't greater transparency?
I think it's highly unlikely. I think the lesson of the China A shares is there's a lot of really strong Chinese companies there, but they trade on single-digit PEs and very high or apparently high dividend yields because people don't trust the underlying accounts or the governance. So I think whether it's the accounting or even just the governance of is Saudi Aramco going to be run for you as a shareholder or for the Saudi Arabian government, we know the answer to that, by the way, then you've got to aim off with the valuation.
And it's not just China. If you look at Rosneft, if you look in Russia and you have state-owned oil companies, they trade at a discount, which says that even if you get the oil price up, you won't get full dollar value for the shares of Aramco for other investments.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's a problem, isn't it, for the Crown Prince as he really tries to go forward with this very aggressive plan to restructure the economy?
But I see it's part of his transparency. I think that used to be the piggy bank of the ruling family. I think by making it more open and more public, he's showing to his young people that there's wealth there that is being diversified into the rest of the economy.
And the Saudis would argue that's what the crackdown was on corruption that we saw in the detentions in the Ritz. It was about sending a message to the domestic people that, look, if you've got to suffer with these reforms, then the rich people that have pillaged this country have to do it too. What about for international investors and the approach that the Saudis took there? Is ultimately that a turn-off, or do you buy into the message that this is a broader corruption crackdown?
I would say it's the latter. It's definitely a broader corruption crackdown. It wants to be more transparent. It wants to be more inclusive going forwards. It isn't just about, the top 3,000 people. And that's what President Xi's been up to for the last 5 years. He's sitting there with the rich in China saying, you've now bought your place in Manhattan and your place down in Florida. I want you to leave that money in China now to grow the Chinese economy.
Well, exactly. And that's part of the point. The people in Saudi Arabia have been spending a lot of money outside of Saudi Arabia. I heard a figure yesterday that there's like $2.5 billion spent by Saudis overseas for tourism. And one of the things that the Crown Prince is saying, bring some of that back here for tourism. We'll build you some hotels. We'll build you some centers, some parks and things like that. And if he could do that, maybe it really could turn around really a struggling economy.
Yes, and I think that the key issue there, which is why, now allowing women to drive, is he's got to change the culture. The culture was, I think, because of their hosting of, the two sacred sites of Islam, I think he's been constrained by creating effectively a Dubai-type environment. Yes. And that's the only way you're going to get tourism is if we can wear T-shirts and shorts.